I'm Zoe Colon. I am Associate Director of Global Perspectives and International Initiatives at UCF and serve as Senior Advisor to the Puerto Rico Research Hub. Welcome, everyone. I'm super excited to be helping to put this panel together. We have some superstar members of staff and administrators here at UCF that have done amazing work and are helping to shape the future of Latino student success and how to support Latinos and work with our colleagues out in the community as well in the future. So super excited. I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over to David Dumke, who is the Executive Director of Global Perspectives, to kick us off. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. I appreciate being here. This is, I want to thank Zoe especially for organizing really a series of events throughout Hispanic Heritage Month. It's really great for our office to be involved. The Office of Global Perspectives and International Initiatives was part of the College of Science, and we moved to UCF Global actually in the midst of the pandemic. So we're working as a team on international issues as well as on special initiatives, including those involving certainly the Puerto Rico Research Hub, the Puerto Rican community, and the Hispanic community. So I appreciate working with Natalie. And more recently, we had the Puerto Rico Research Hub move and became part of our family. So I want to thank Fernando for being part of that. Puerto Rico is obviously very important to our community. It's very important to UCF going forward. It's also important to our outreach to the Caribbean and Latin America. So thank you for joining us today. I will turn it over to Fernando, let him give a greeting to everyone, and thanks again to Zoe and our team for putting this together.
Thank you, David. And thank you everyone that's tuning in. I see some familiar faces out there. So Estamos Aquí, that's the panel today. I want to welcome everyone, and we have, I echo all the sentiments out here in terms of the wonderful panel that we're having today and the discussion that we're gonna have. I'm gonna begin by sharing my screen and just show you a little bit of the growth that we have had in the Hispanic population and sort of the discussion out here. And I'm going to be serving as your moderator as we go through the day out here. But to begin, I'm going to share your screen, make sure that it's the one that I'm sharing here that pops up out here. Let me put it in the display out here. So you can see it kind of like the display. This is one of the things that a year and a half into it, we're still struggling with the technology, but here we are. First of all, I'm Fernando Rivera. I'm director of the Puerto Rico Research Hub and also a professor of sociology, and very proud Puerto Rican as well. And happy Hispanic Heritage Month to everyone. So one of the things out here that I want to point you out here, now we have the 2020 census. So that allows us to sort of compare a little bit what has happened in the last decade or so. So I'm going to show you some of the numbers nationally, at the state, and at the local level, right? And I'm just going to pick some of the counties nearby just to show you the growth of the Hispanic population out here. And you can see that there's some major changes out here. If you notice in some of the numbers out here, you know, see where the direction is going out here. The Latino population continues to grow out here when you see from, you know, sort of from the United States, Florida and Orange County as well. But you can see sort of the percentage right here, you know, in kind of like Orange County out here. So we went from 26.9% to 33%, some of the local things out here in terms of that. And you see sort of this and how the population is shifting. And I think kind of like this is important of some of the things that we're seeing locally as well. If you look at Osceola County, if you see the percentage out here in 2020, about 54.3% is in the 20 census is a Hispanic population as well. So you see kind of like those patterns as well that are happening. Even I want to include Seminole County because I live in Seminole County, but you see that also about 22% of the residents of Seminole County are also from Hispanic, Latino background as well. So a massive population movement out here, or population growth that is happening out here. Obviously, this is happening also at UCF. And this just came out today. There was a data released today from the US Census, so today, September 16th. But you see sort of the overall growth that UCF is following that trend as well. And not only in terms of enrollment, but also in terms of graduation as well. And as you can see, sort of, you can see some of the, about 28% of our student population right now. And those numbers, you know, obviously they're gonna become official in a little bit, but you can see that that growth has happened since 2017, growing from 24% almost to 28%. So that growth continues to happen out here. So it's important to have this conversation out here, because locally, nationally, and even our UCF community level, we're experiencing and we're seeing some of that growth that is happening out here. Obviously, if you have any questions or anything like that, here's my contact information. But to begin the panel here, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, which is always fun. We're going to start with Dr. Morales Muñiz, and she's gonna tell us a little bit, give us an overview of the current HSI and Latino focus initiatives, and then we'll continue the panel out here. So Dr. Morales Muñiz, delighted to have you here. The floor is yours.
Muchísimas gracias, Dr. Rivera. It is such a pleasure to be here with all of you, sharing this space and having this conversation. I also want to acknowledge my fellow panelists who are amazing Latino, Latina, Latinx individuals doing important work on our campus. So thank you for this opportunity to share space. Como bien dijiste, happy National Hispanic Heritage Month. We are also celebrating Happy National HSIs Week, or Hispanic Serving Institutions Week. And so for those who may not be aware, right, UCF is in fact federally recognized as a Hispanic serving institution, and we share that identity, that important distinguished label, if you will, with 568 other institutions in the country. And so that is based off of our undergraduate enrollment, and that is, it requires a 25% undergraduate enrollment of Hispanic Latino students. As of this semester, we are exceeding, right, over 29%, so almost 18,000 Hispanic Latino Latinx undergraduate students on our campus. And so what does that mean for how we serve students, for our university community overall, for our local community, et cetera? So I get excited and I get ahead of myself. I also have some slides to share with you. So I will go ahead and do that. And let's see, all right, share. Oh, I think so. One participant. Here we go. Okay. Muchas gracias por la paciencia. Here we go. Do we see slides? Yes. Okay. I see.
Yes, we do.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. All right. Bueno, como dijo el Dr. Rivera, estamos aquí, and this is a little bit about our HSI initiatives. As I was saying, we're celebrating National HSIs Week, and the purpose of the week is intended to raise awareness on the important roles of HSIs in advancing educational equity. We did host a forum on Monday. I hope that you had an opportunity to tune in. And if you did not, it is totally okay. Métete, go ahead into UCF's YouTube channel, and you can, there's the link right there, and you can see our keynote speaker. We had Johnny de Armas, who spoke with us and made the connection between our HSI identity and what that means for Florida's economy, as far as contributions and our active role within advancing our economy here in Florida. But tune in and see if for our forum, go ahead and watch that. It was a really good time. Thank you for those who were able to join us live. As far as serving our Latino students, just wanting to make everyone aware that we do have a peer mentoring program, Crear Futuros, which means to create futures in Spanish. And Crear Futuros stands for College Readiness, Achievement, and Retention. The application is available there. There you see the QR code, and the deadline is actually tomorrow. So I'm happy to share this flyer, spread the word with your students. so that they're aware that this opportunity exists. It is intended to support our freshmen and sophomore students, and they are mentored by juniors and seniors. And so again, making sure that they take full advantage of the UCF experience and all the resources that are here to support them. So that is Crear Futuros. Send us an email if you have questions about that. Again, we're happy to share the flyer. And when we're discussing HSI, the success of our students and how we support our students, we know that the more that our students are engaged, the more that they're successful. We want to plug them into opportunities where they can learn and develop professionally. So this is one example of that, and it's our HSI Battle of the Brains. These are some of the students, or all of the students who participated in the inaugural academic competition last year. And they went ahead to win Best Business Solution for the academic competition with HSIs across the country. They put a marketing plan together. They did some financial forecasting, and there was a problem that they were presented with a problem with Dell Technologies, presented them with a problem, and they needed to present that a solution, propose a solution to that problem. So they went ahead to win Best Business Solution. We celebrated them on Monday as well. So that's one of those ways that we support our students. Another way is leveraging cultural capital for your career, which is a web course that we launched just this summer. And what led to this web course was our partnership with one of our national organizations, national partners, Excelencia in Education. There was a UCF team of staff and administrators who participated in a leadership institute. And it was focused on linking completion to the workforce. And what derived of that, what resulted of our participation in that institute was this web course where we encourage students to lean into and leverage their cultural assets to help them achieve their academic and career goals. No, we, when it comes, our culture, our strength, our wealth that we bring into the classroom, right, and into our workspaces, it matters. It matters, and it's a strength, and we want to make sure that students understand that. And through this web course, they learn how to share their personal stories effectively, promote their assets to attract employer, their cultural assets, and then leverage that. No, let's leverage the cultural wealth to gain that competitive advantage. So we had over 200 Access students who completed the web course, and we're getting ready to launch it again. If you'd like more information, you're welcome to reach out to us at hsi@ucf.edu, and we'll make sure to get your students plugged in. And then last, I'll share with you that we're so excited that this week we have launched our campaign for our Vamos Nights Fund. I hope you had an opportunity to read the article in UCF Today. It was published on Thursday, September 9th. So take a look for that article. It highlights one of our alums, Gonzalo Sauri, who was the president of the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers here at UCF. He also helped create the Peruvian Student Association, and now he is a senior analyst at Accenture doing big things, okay, at Accenture. And they were organizing their annual giving campaign, and in support of historically Black colleges and universities and Hispanic serving institutions. And he was instrumental in getting UCF included into that campaign. And that is what has led to our Vamos Nights Fund. So please, spread the word, share this information, encourage folks to support with Vamos Nights. It will help us generate more scholarship and fellowship support for our students. We are also wanting to make sure that our faculty have the tools to support our students, with professional learning opportunities, and also supporting research in this area. So we're also hoping to provide seed grants for those who have HSI, who are wanting to do more HSI focused research. So Vamos Nights, 25 for 25, $25 for the 25% enrollment that is needed for institutions to be recognized as an HSI. Those are the slides that I have to share with you all. I hope that was informative. I appreciate everyone's support. And again, I appreciate this space to talk about how we can intentionally serve our Latino community, our students, our faculty and staff as a Hispanic serving institution. And thank you for all who are here. Vamos Nights.
Thank you so much. That was very informative. And one of the things is, as we have introduced sort of the next panelists, and remember the biographies there's a link out here that you can click on the chat. But one of the things, we asked the panelists to address some questions, right? So what does Latino success look to you? What UCF initiatives you are most proud of? And what is your vision for Latino success as UCF? So with that, I'm happy to introduce La Doctora Natalia Toro. And Natalia, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. And I am going to share my screen too. Hopefully y'all can see my screen.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right. And so I have double duty today. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. I was asked to share a little bit about a signature program that I have the pleasure to work with, and actually work with many of you with the McNair Scholars Program, and also to share with you a little bit about what's going on with La FASA. So just bear with me as I go through those two organizations that I'm connected with. So in my professional role within academic advancement programs, I work to make a reality our office's vision of ensuring that every student, especially first-gen, low-income, and underrepresented students who are interested in grad school, can actually actualize that goal. And as we tell all of our students, we not only want them to get into grad school, but we want them to get into grad school funded. And that's especially important for our first-gen low-income students. And we want to make sure that that happens so when they move on, they're not burdened with debt. And so you may ask, why graduate school? So student data, survey data tells us that while 53% of entering freshmen and 43% of entering transfer students are interested in pursuing graduate or professional school, which, as you can see by the data, it's slightly higher for Latino students. Only about 24% of graduating seniors know that pursuing graduate or professional school is their primary plan after graduation. And actually 33% of those students know that they have not yet applied to any graduate program by the time that they graduate. So anecdotally, we know that some of these students have been so focused on graduation and all these other responsibilities that they have simply not prepared for what comes next. And AAP wants to change that. And so our signature program that is actually a Seal of Excelencia finalist, our McNair Scholars Program, aims to pipeline first-gen, low-income, underrepresented students for PhDs and eventually the professoriate. That is the goal, so that they can join us at great institutions like UCF. This program, I feel, and I think that many at the university feel, that truly demonstrates how we can create communities where Latinx students can thrive. And now I'm going to share with you why we were selected as an Excelencia finalist. So who are our students? And actually, I want to point out that Dr. Muniz is one of our McNair scholars nationally, not from UCF, but definitely now as part of UCF. So who are our scholars? You can see here that they're largely first-gen, low-income, transfer, and underrepresented, and actually 65% of them are Latinx. We got lots of UCF McNair Latinx students. And while some of those characteristics, when we see those things, first-gen, transfer, low-income, underrepresented, usually is when we're having conversation about like these at-risk populations, right? And these obstacles and why we have to worry about these students. But our students actually do have those obstacles and they overcome them and they demonstrate excellence, okay? Our scholars are winners of some of the most prestigious and competitive awards in the nation. And I wanna highlight our Latinx student outcomes since 2013, 100% baccalaureate completion, and that is for our program in total. 94% of our Latinx students pursued graduate school, and of those, 31% are seeking or have completed master's degrees, and 80% are seeking or have completed PhDs. And finally, 32%, this is really, really impressive for those of you who are familiar with this award, but 32%, almost a third of our Latinx graduates who pursued graduate school have received the NSF Graduate Research Fellowship, an award that fully funds their education. Okay, so I just wanted to brag. This is our most recent graduating class, Latinx UCF McNair Scholars. Sorry, their pictures are blurry, but I want you to see the schools that they're going to. And they're fully funded. All of our students last year, when many students were having a really difficult time, applying to programs and, everything was virtual, all of our students were moved on to their next step, and all of them were funded, whether for master's or PhD programs. And you can see the caliber of the programs they're attending: UCF, MIT, Georgia Tech, Cornell, NYU, amongst others. And many of them are NSF GRFP winners. Now, just a plug-in for the program, the McNair applications are due September 24th. So if you have any students who are interested in pursuing their PhD, feel free to contact me. We want to support them. But to me, what's truly impressive is not the schools that our students go to, but their stories. So I wanted to share a couple of those stories because I feel they truly exemplify the work that we do at AAP. The first student I want to highlight, and some of you may know him, I think maybe some of you, is Gustavo. So Gustavo likes to say that he failed his way through the University of Puerto Rico. He only pursued college because his parents expected him to do so. But it wasn't until 3 years into his college career, just passing by, that he found his calling through an amazing female faculty mentor in electrical engineering in his department. By then, he realized he not only wanted to conduct research, but become a professor. But his grades were so low that the only way he could accomplish his dream was by coming to the mainland, to Valencia, where he got straight A's, in engineering, and transfer here to UCF. And so when we met him, unfortunately at that point, when he just transferred, his GPA was just not, his GPA was so low that even those straight A's did not get him to the 3.0 that you need to become a McNair. But what we did is that we worked with him through that, so that when he was ready and when he met our requirements, he could become a McNair. He impressed his faculty mentor here at UCF and did a summer research at Michigan State, continued to excel academically. And when he applied to PhD programs, he was accepted to his dream school fully funded, which was Princeton University, but he didn't take that offer. He ended up accepting an offer from Carnegie Mellon, where he's now pursuing a PhD in computer engineering. And another student I want to highlight is Stephanie. So she also struggled at various community college as she navigated life as a single mother. She didn't know how to withdraw, or she didn't think about it when she was going through those experiences. So she has semesters with complete Fs on her record. As a non-traditional transfer student, she was finally able to focus on her academics and do very well here at UCF. And she became a McNair. She joined a research lab in psychology. While some of the faculty of external research programs would not even consider her due to her earlier grades, we worked with Stephanie, who eventually ended up doing a summer research program at the University of Colorado at Boulder, where my amazing boss made sure her daughter would be able to go to summer camp while Stephanie did research. She not only excelled, but when she applied to graduate school, she was offered a fully funded position at Virginia Tech in engineering education. She also won the NSF GRF and many other awards, and she should be finishing her PhD soon. And these are just two of the many stories of our scholars. We only see potential, and our students demonstrate once and again that our belief in them, appropriate resources, and guidance are enough for them to achieve beyond what even they thought possible. And so we want to amplify this impact. We want to amplify the impact of programs like McNair. And while all UCF students are not interested in pursuing a PhD, many of them can benefit from our guidance and expertise to pursue their graduate goals that will lead them to a successful career. So apart from McNair and our other signature program, RAMP, we have developed various initiatives to amplify that impact and scale the care that we give our students. So for those of you who work with students, or for any students who may be here, I want to encourage you to connect with us, apply to our programs, and attend our workshops and coaching. I hope I still have time to talk about La FASA. All right, so let me go to my next slide. All right, and this will be briefer because I just started with La FASA a bit over 2 months ago, so I do not have outcomes and a track record yet. Okay, but I will if we come together next year. But we are working hard at listening to our members and creating ways to develop an even stronger community for our Latino faculty and staff. And our call to action that was left to us by the previous board was to serve and empower Latinx faculty and staff. And we do this by building community through advocacy. We encourage our community to have courageous dialogues, create opportunities for social connection and networking, and connect outside of UCF to our local Latinx community. On the advocacy side, we feel that creating a pipeline of success through mutual support, professional and personal development is key in reaching our goal of increasing our presence so that we reflect our student population. And we have a little ways to get there. In addition, through coalition building with our sister organizations, we seek to advocate for the needs of our faculty and staff communities and represent them at the university level. So to summarize, we create connection amongst Latinx faculty and staff, help support the pipeline to ensure that it reflects our population, highlight the amazing work of our Latinx faculty and staff, and build coalitions and advocates for their needs. And I ask all of the faculty and staff here to support us in this effort because you are La FASA. And so come to our meeting next Monday at 4 p.m. We hope to see you there. We also have a whole list of all the Hispanic Heritage Month events on our website. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that very informative presentation and inspirational presentation of the great success that our students are having, the work that's been done, and the work that we need to do. So with that, I now offer the floor to Lisa Cruz, Associate Director of UCF Connect, Division of Student Learning and Academic Success. So Lisa, the floor is yours.
Buenos días. Gracias a todos por estar aquí hoy. I'm just so happy and excited to be here today. Super excited with the panelists and all the great work that's being done, and for you all for attending today. I just want to go over a little bit about why I think this is such an important work for all of us. We are an HSI, and then that's what we're here. We're here to serve all the Latino, Latinx students, and part of what we're all doing is little pieces that will come all together to help the student be success. And for students to be successful, we're looking at having, I work specifically with transfer students, and I have for about 15 years. And a lot of times when students are transferring from one institution to the next, it's very difficult for those students to get acclimated to the university. And I'm sure many of you may be transfer students. I don't have any slides to share today, but I just kind of want to have, tell you a little bit about what our work is with the transfer students. Because we deal with the transfer students and they talk with us and give us feedback on their transition to the university, we hear a lot about students that just feeling lost when they enter the institution. They don't have a sense of community. They feel isolated and just not sure what direction to take and how to get involved. After hearing that from many students throughout the years that I've worked here, and from other coaches that I work with, I just sat down and started looking at ways that we can assist students with that transition into UCF. I started looking a little bit at what are the areas that we could help with and what are the barriers that students are facing. So a colleague, Casia Cruz, and I formed the program called Conexiones. Keisha no longer is with us. She left us a couple weeks ago, and she's doing great work in another area, but I'm gonna miss her. But Keisha and I started looking at these different areas and different gaps, like, you know, the financial aid, financial assistance, the scholarships, the family dynamics. We also started looking at what are other experiences that some of our other coaches are hearing from students, and what are some of those experiences that that they themselves experience. So we gathered 4 Latinas that are coaches, and we created a task force, the Conexiones Task Force. And those are great people. Kimberly Ordana Ortiz, Ramona Diaz, Vanessa Delgado, and Ada Diaz. And we started working on gathering information, creating, we had a panelist of students from both the State College and from UCF to gather more information on what their experiences are. And then we started working on, we roll up our sleeves and we started looking at, okay, what does this mean? What does this look like? And how could we help these students? We are very passionate about this work. We started working on it just pre-COVID. So a lot of it has been kind of put on hold for a little bit, but now we're starting up again. But what we've looked at is we looked at the data of transfer students, and the data of transfer students we had at UCF for the fall 2020 enrollment, there was over 30,000 students that transferred into the university. Out of those transfer students, there were over 9,000 students that were Hispanic, Latinx students that transferred in. And we dug a little bit deeper, and we wanted to know from the state institution that we're specifically working with right now is Valencia as the initiative. There were close to 5,000 students that transferred into UCF just from Valencia. And that's not inclusive of any other institution. That's just the area of Valencia. So the need is great there to help this population of students, not only as they transition to the university, but once they're in the university, continue to work with them, connecting them to resources, connecting them to mentors and to areas to help them through the university and be successful, not only graduating on a timely base, but going beyond there and being successful once they graduate and start their journey into their career goals. Some of the things that we have instituted is we develop a resource guide, and any student could use the resource guide, but I think that we had developed this resource guide called Conexiones, and it just addresses areas of scholarships, areas of high impact practices, where students could get resources such as SARC and other areas academically, but also community resources, legal assistance, housing assistance, because their needs are great. Not everyone will use all the resources, but having a place and a location of those resources in one area does help to locate what is available out there, not only for the students, but even for families that are in need or just needing more information about a resource or an area to go in. We also had different events. Right now, everything has been virtually because of the situation, but we are actually having one today. It's Charla con Café. We have that monthly, and it's an area where we can have conversations, very, very helpful and beneficial conversations that we've had in the past with students. And it's a place to share your experiences, but to hear from other students and what their experiences are and how to help each other. And another way of connecting with students while you're at the State College and connecting with students at UCF, because it's open for both. So we're trying to reach that gap and close in that gap between that. So when a student, our goal would be when a student transfers into UCF, there is some type of connection or guidance of where they need to be going to be part of the community of UCF. Because as we had mentioned before, I think someone mentioned before, being part of the community at UCF and having that involvement would only increase your potential and do the best and reach your successful graduation, because being part of that and networking and just taking part of all those areas will help you succeed. We had the Chala con Cafe. We actually have one today at 1 o'clock, and I can put the link in the chat for you all to see if you wanted to participate. This month's event is going to be focused on the Hispanic Heritage Month, and we're excited to hopefully see more. And it's open for students, it's open for staff, so hoping that we can see you there. But our goal and our intention is to connect students with resources, with mentors. I'm happy to say now that we have a peer mentor specifically for the Conexiones program. She's great. Some students, you might have heard from her because she's been reaching out to our Latino and Hispanic student population. And she's going to also be in some of our events and coming up with some ideas on how best we could reach out to students. So we're happy that we are able to have our peer coach. And so that would be one way. And to help the students along the way, removing those barriers, helping them graduate and move on to a successful career. Because our passion as the task force, the Conexiones, is for students to succeed. And because we know when students succeed, the families are also included in that, and the families are also successful. So that's a little bit about our Conexiones and how we can help students at UCF to move on to graduation. But the need is there, and we're there to help. And we're looking forward to helping students and continuing our work. And thank you for allowing me to be on this panel, and hope to see everyone there soon.
Thank you so much for all the information and all the work that you do. So with that, we have our next speaker is Natalie Chandia. She's the Associate Vice President for UCF Global. So Natalie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Fernando. And I have to say, I'm very happy to be sharing this panel with all of my colleagues. I think this is the first time I participate in a Hispanic or Latino panel. And so I'm very honored because I am a Latina. I'm from Chile. I came here when I was 13. And just like our students, my family probably went through the same things, trying to do our immigration paperwork, trying to join college, because as long as I can remember, my parents wanted us to finish and have a bachelor's degree. We never talked about master's or doctorate. We talked about bachelor's degree. So I understand our students. I understand what they go through. I had to go through the same thing, going through the admissions office, explaining my immigration status and the opportunities I might have or might not have. So I think this is very important to me personally. As the lead of Global, it's we're often seen as the international hub, which we are, but we also work with our Latino and immigrant students. We do provide services. I'm not sure if you're aware, but we do see all the students that go through financial aid that are TPS or asylees or have any other status that's not a citizen. They come through us. So we help them with their qualifying for financial aid. We also do clinics for DACA students to apply for benefits. So we do work a lot with the community. During the pandemic, we had a great opportunity to move our free English community classes online, which we thought was going to be, it would have a negative impact because we always offer English classes for the community in downtown or here, and we have about 20 to 30 participants. When we moved online, very fast, we got 130. 8 weeks later, we had 600 participants. We reached 2,000 people. So, and I go into the classes and to hear just the testimonials from their parents or from community members. There was a lady that it's some of these stories just move you to tears. But she said, I moved to this country and I felt like I was in the margins of society because I couldn't participate in my kids' school. I couldn't talk to the teacher. I had to wait for my kids to come home so they could help me go buy groceries and go to the deli. So this English program is actually doing a lot more than just allowing me to speak English, but also I feel like I can contribute to Orlando. So we hear a lot of those testimonials, but also with the pandemic, a lot of our families, our Latino families, work in the service industry. So with everything closed, we had to move them to a different industry. So we partner with Career Source Central Florida. So we offer English and also continuing education training. So as soon as they got to a proficiency level where they could start taking a training, we gave them the training, and Career Source Central Florida found them a job. So that was really significant for a lot of people. We're continuing with these community English programs, but we also have a more intensive English program, which is also online. Out of the 2,300 have moved to that program. We've had funding through the HERF Act and CARES, and they're doing them more intensive because a lot of them have careers in their countries, but here they can't use their bachelor's degree or their master's degree because they don't speak English. So they needed that academic English or vocational English. So we're working with them. So I'm here to serve you. I'm very happy that Estamos Aquí because finally we're here together. I've been at UCF for 18 years, and this is the first time I see that our Latino leaders or our Latinas and Latinos leaders are together in one place. I think for us to be successful, we truly had to partner. UCF is so decentralized and we all work in these silos, but at the end of the day, we all have the same goal, right? We want our students to be successful. We want our families, which when it comes to Latino students, their families are very much part of their decision. So we have to work with them. We have a welcome every semester here at UCF Global. And a lot of times we end up with families here because they're with the students, and sometimes they're not even international students, they just want to understand. So I think the more we can do together, the more we can partner. It doesn't matter who we report to. I think it's important being, again, this Hispanic Heritage Month, I think this is the first time again that we are part of it. So I think we're moving in the right direction. I congratulate everyone that's doing different projects because I think sometimes it's just from the heart because we don't have the support we need. But I think if we all come together, we can do great things because I know our students are talented. They have the support of the families, and we're here to be those a tool, right, to change that trajectory and hopefully get them all to the McNair program or get them all to graduate from a master's degree or a PhD or be the future leaders of UCF. So thank you, and my pleasure to be here again.
Thank you, Natalie. And I just want to comment that our good friend Ana Cruz mentioned she's very thankful for your program and what a blessing was to the community. So thank you so much. We have a lot of programs that some of them go beyond just the immediate UCF community as well, and that's part of it as well. So our next presenter is Dr. Andrea Guzman. She serves as Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. So Dr. Guzman, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month, everyone. As Fernando indicated, I am Dr. Andrea Guzman, and I have the pleasure to serve as your inaugural Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And that's very exciting. It's also a little intimidating at times and a little scary, so I'll be transparent and will admit to that. I want to start off by thanking Zoe and Fernando for organizing this panel, and I'm thanking my fellow panelists for allowing me to have an opportunity to share this space with them. And of course, to thank each and every one of you for being here today. We all have very busy lives, so we're really appreciative of the fact that you're here learning about the initiatives that we have here at UCF to support Hispanic, Latina, Latino, and Latinx students as well as our vision of what student success looks like for our Hispanic, Latina, Latino students, and what we plan for the future. So a little background on myself in case this is the first time that you've seen me. I am puertorriqueña, muy orgullosa de ser puertorriqueña, nacida in Detroit, Michigan. So translation for those who may not speak Spanish, I am a very proud Puerto Rican, born and raised in the city of Detroit. And that can be complex for some people. They're like, wait, if you're born in Detroit, how are you Puerto Rican? And I would say you have to spend one weekend at my house when we were kids and you would understand what that means. I was a first generation college student and the only sibling that actually earned a college degree. So I too can resonate and understand a lot of the challenges that our students face when they come to an institution of higher ed like UCF. Fortunately for our students, they're coming to an institution that is very rich in diversity, not just in our student demographics, but it's amazing how you can look around and you can find faculty and staff that were also first generation or that were also international or that whose parents migrated or maybe came from another state. I went to the University of Michigan where you didn't always see that. In fact, I didn't know anyone who had a doctorate degree that even spoke Spanish when I was growing up. And so I always say I went to school for my 4-year degree for myself. I got a master's for my boys, and I got a doctorate for all the other little boys and girls that were Hispanic, Latino, and did not have that kind of representation in their lives. So, my experience in education spans from K through 12, where I started off developing programs, educational programs for what was considered at-risk youth in Detroit public schools. And then I did some nonprofit work. And from there, I started in higher education at a community college. And I was at that community college for 12 years, starting in academic advising and then rising the ranks to chief academic officer and provost of health sciences. After 12 years and earning a doctorate degree, I decided that I needed a change. And so I came to Florida from Michigan, and I was hired by Florida Atlantic University to serve as their associate vice president for student outreach and diversity. And in that role, I had the opportunity to restructure the Office of Multicultural Affairs at the time. And I was able to work with some of our existing team members there and some leadership to establish the Center for Inclusion, Diversity, Education, and Advocacy, which had several different offices. But what I'm very proud about is the establishment of the Office of Hispanic, Latina, Latino, Latinx Initiatives and the Futuro Success Program, which also included a Futuros retreat for students. That office launched when the center was unveiled, and within 2 years really was a cornerstone of what work was being done at Florida Atlantic University for Hispanic, Latina, Latino, Latinx students. And it also served a hub or a space for faculty and staff that also identified with the community to be a part of the student success outside of the classroom. So the co-curricular and just having a space for dialogue and mentoring, informal mentoring. They received national recognition for the Futuros Retreat program in 2020, which was exactly 1 year after that retreat was developed and launched. So we'll fast forward 7 years. I spent 7 years at Florida Atlantic University and was able to establish 3 centers and 6 different offices and several different student success programs, academic support programs for not just Hispanic Latino students, but also for our Black students. We had an international support program for international students, LGBTQ plus initiatives, and first generation, as well as transfer students. In fact, I just found out that the last grant that I helped write was funded at $1 million. I'm trying to figure out if I can steal that money and bring it here to UCF, but they told me I'm not allowed back on their campus. So I will write one for us. But my role here at the institution is really to create infrastructure for the University of Central Florida. There's so much potential here in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion work and what we can do together collectively. And so part of my role is really to take a look at what are we doing really well, and how can we amplify that? How can we scale it out? How can we create some synergy so that we're working together to have a larger impact and really have U-wide impact and not siloed impact? So that is part of why I was asked to come here to the University of Central Florida. But I want to address some of the questions that this panel was put together to address, and that is, what my vision of Latino student success might be, and some of the things that I'm thinking about as I progress in this position. So I'm going to preface this with, I've only been here 2 months. So 2 months has gone by pretty quickly, but it's been a jam-packed 2 months. I've been able to meet with lots and lots of individuals, faculty, staff, almost every dean, leads of different units, and of course, lots of our students. In fact, I've met with student government probably more than any of the vice presidents here at UCF, which I'm very happy about. That was my biggest fear of progressing into a vice presidency was, am I going to lose the students? Because I don't want to lose the students. That's what makes me get up every morning. But for me, student success is making sure that our students are excelling academically. For UCF, that means our 4-year graduation rates need to increase. But I don't want to use everyone else's graduation rate as our benchmark, because it's not a great benchmark, right? I think all students at UCF at the 4-year and 6-year rate should be graduating at a much higher rate. But of course, I want to look at ways that our Latino students can excel beyond what's considered the benchmark here currently. So we should be graduating at 70%, 80%, 90%, quite honestly, 100%. I know that not everyone is going to graduate, but if I could have a magic wand, I'd say every single student that walks in through our door should graduate. So the closer we get to that 100%, I think the happier I would be. I don't want to settle for 50% or roughly 50%, because that's where everybody else is graduating. I want to excel and exceed that number. And then excelling in areas where we're underrepresented, such as STEM. It's especially here in Orlando, where there's so much opportunity right now in terms of the technology industry. But we're very underrepresented in STEM and research and scholarship. And so I think part of Latino student success is preparing our students for those areas where they're currently underrepresented. And I also think that Latino student success means taking a holistic approach. So when we think about our own journeys through education, there's so many barriers that come up that if we wouldn't have learned how to jump over hurdles, work around them, plow through them at some times, or drag somebody behind us with us to make it to the other side of that journey, we wouldn't have made it. And it's because it is a very holistic approach to making sure that our students are successful. So everything from communicating effectively and confidently, having global and cultural competence, being ready for the career that they elected to go into, having the emotional intelligence and resiliency that's needed to succeed in those areas. It's very difficult for some of our students or for even staff when you're entering a field where you're underrepresented, and you have to consistently and continuously, and you're blue in your face trying to convince others that you have earned that position and that you have the expertise to be there. It takes a lot of emotional intelligence and resiliency to stick it through and really navigate those politics that are in place. I think having financial literacy is really important, right? But being able to build wealth for ourselves and for our communities, and then mentorship, and having a good idea of what work-life balance looks like. And I'll be the first to admit that I don't have that down just yet, but I'm working on it every single day. And I feel like I'm getting better at the work-life balance piece. Some things that I would like to see here at UCF, keeping in mind what I shared that I believe is imperative for student success, is I'd like to elevate the Office of Hispanic Serving Institutions. I think that currently it sits in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, which is really an office that is committed to providing diversity education and training. And so those two things from the very onset, 2 months ago when I walked in the door, I was like, why is this in here? This is interesting, right? I don't know if the intention was because it was educating others about what it means to be a Hispanic serving institution. But if that was the original intent, I think we're beyond that point. And so we need to pull it out of there so that we can create and communicate a really solid action plan for institutionalizing servingness at UCF, right? So moving away from, I'm just going to tell you what HSI means, and really moving towards, this is what we need to do in each of our individual units and departments and offices to actually be serving Hispanic Latino students. And then realigning resources so that the action plan can be actualized. Because a lot of times, we create action plans and we try to give tools to people, but then they can't actually actualize it because they don't have the resources to do it. So if for instance, financial aid wants to create a video in Spanish for parents to understand the FAFSA process, do we have funding that would be able to support something like that? So that's just an example. I would like to create a centralized location for Hispanic, Latino, Latinx students with the purpose of offering academic support programs, financial assistance to students, and providing a space for students to engage and interact with faculty and staff outside of the classroom. So very similar to the office that was established at FAU. It could create sort of a space where all of our staff that are doing such great work in terms of supporting Hispanic students could come together and really be that one place where our students would go to and find out everything about what's going on for Hispanic, Latino, Latinx students at UCF. Because right now it's kind of everywhere, right? So you got to give them a map to figure out, oh, where are all my support resources? Here's the map, go find it. But if there was a centralized location that really worked towards strengthening programs and working together to support Hispanic students, I think it would make a much stronger institution that is intentionally serving Hispanic, Latino, Latinx students. The office would also serve as a space to raise awareness of social issues that impact the community and to equip administrators, faculty, and staff with the tools that they need in order to serve the community. So one of the things that I hear a lot from the faculty side of the house is, we do want to support our Hispanic Latino students in pedagogy and we want to make our course more culturally relevant to them, but I don't know how. I don't know how to create a rubric. I don't know how to transform the curriculum, and I need to do it in a way that doesn't require me to go back to my chair, right? I want to do it within academic freedom and reinvent my syllabi to be reflective of the needs of the students in the classroom without having to get all these administrative sign-offs. So this office could also serve in that kind of capacity. And, one of the things that I found out in the 2 months that I've been here, there's no central location that really organizes Hispanic Heritage Month. And so there's all these different events and programs happening, but there's not a centralized area where we can take a holistic look at it and say, okay, el miércoles voy a hacer esto, el jueves, right? No, it doesn't exist. And so an office like this could also create some synergy in being able to communicate what we're doing as a university, not just internally, so that we're not pulling our own hair trying to figure out who's doing what and how do I make sure I don't compete with Fernando's event or Zoe's event if I want to create something. But for our external community partners who want to be involved and want to participate in Hispanic Heritage Month. Leveraging our community partnerships and our alumni, I think, is really, really important to support the community, again, because our students don't always have an opportunity to see leadership in certain capacities. And so if we could provide them with some out-of-the-box opportunities, such as job shadowing or scaled down internships. We think of internships, well, not everyone can dedicate an entire semester to an internship. Can we create a 1-week internship opportunity where our students can go and spend some time with a leader at NASA or a bank CEO who happens to be Hispanic, Latino, or Latina, Latinx, those kinds of opportunities. And that's really leveraging our partnerships that we currently have, because they're there. We may not be using them as broadly as we can. And then creating a space for research, which is really important and dear to my heart. We have to oftentimes rely on high impact practices and best practices that weren't really developed for diverse student populations, right? And so how do we create that culture here where we're actively seeking new knowledge and new research that can actually aid in best supporting Hispanic, Latino, Latinx students through pedagogy and curriculum redesign inside of the classroom, so that they have a better experience as a student, and an experience that's equal to the experience that a non-Hispanic, Latina, Latino, Latinx students would have. So these are, I think I'm coming to time, so I am going to yield to the next speaker, but I've only been here 2 months, so some of this may change or evolve as I move along, but I'm really excited to be here. And I'm always open to meeting with you if you're interested or you have thoughts and you're like, oh, I can help you with some of this, or maybe you can help me. Feel free to reach out. I'll drop my email in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Guzman. Now, first of all, let me thank you all for a wonderful panel of all the things that are going on in UCF and what might be some of our next steps. I wanted to acknowledge at the beginning, you said, you were from Detroit, but Jimmy Torres, our good friend Jimmy Torres Vélez, reminded us that yo sería borincano aunque naciera en la luna. I know Detroit is not close to the moon, but at least it's close enough. And that's a famous quote from Juan Antonio Correger. I think also, Jimmy, if you have any questions, and I'm gonna, after asking Jimmy's question, if you have any other questions, please drop them in the chat box, and then Zoe is gonna join us as well in sort of this part of the panel. But Jimmy, and I think you attest to it a little bit, Dr. Guzman, in terms of how outside organizations of UCF can help in these efforts out here. And I open that question not only to you, Dr. Guzman, but also to the rest of the panelists as well.
Yeah, so I mean, there's all kinds of ways that the community can engage. So for instance, I'm going to be looking at establishing an advisory council that will bring together some of our corporate partners as well as community partners that can help inform what kind of skills our students need to be attaining while they're at UCF to be ready for their careers, or to be engaging in the community with other not-for-profit organizations or for-profit organizations. So participating on an advisory council, I think, is a good way. Another way, of course, is always going to be fundraising and philanthropic. So I'm going to shamelessly put that in there, because our students oftentimes are working 2 jobs, sometimes 3 jobs. And as somebody who had to work a lot of jobs and still have a lot of debt from higher education, I would say that fundraising and philanthropy is a great way. We see a higher number of students graduating with a 4-year degree, and then they drop off at graduate or to even pursue graduate and doctoral degrees. And a lot of times it's that financial barrier that doesn't allow them to continue their education. Another area is internship opportunities, especially when you can offer something that is shorter, like a 1-week or a 2-week job shadowing opportunity, a mentorship. Being able to just spend time with our students is sometimes a motivator or something that they need. We have students that come from other countries, and sometimes they can feel very lonely as an immigrant child. And so finding and connecting them to other individuals that started in the US from Guatemala, from Peru, that can share in that experience can be very, very powerful for our students. So that's another way that community partners can be involved. And then, some community partners have resources that they offer that the university can't always offer, in terms of, spiritual guidance, religious guidance, those types of things. So I think that's also an avenue that community partners can be involved. And then I'm gonna stop talking now because I can keep going and going. But I dropped my email in there. So if you're looking to get involved or connected, Jimmy, please do send me an email.
Thank you so much. Any of the other panelists want to address this question before we move on to the rest of the questions? All right, with that, Zoe, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to highlight too that Iniciativa Acción Puertorriqueña has a current partnership with UCF Global, and we came together along with Ola from the city of Orlando, the Mexican consulate, I believe the Colombian consulate. We've been working together to bring basic and intermediate English classes to the community, and the program was able to expand because of those community-based organizations. So I just wanted to highlight that. I think Natalie spoke to it briefly, but that's the kind of partnerships that, that we can continue to develop. I worked a little bit for 4 years in Paramore on a collective impact framework, bringing together a number of different partners from across different sectors. And so I think we should look at how we can do that so that we can better support Latinos on campus, and looking at our external partners is absolutely important. There's a lot of opportunity out there for internships, like we were saying, for research. And so I'm seeing that there's more questions. I think one question from Annabelle Conroy is, will we ever have a Latin American/Latinx Studies Center? And it's crucial for research retention and increasing faculty diversity. I'm not sure if everyone has access to the chat, so I'll go ahead and summarize the questions. I think Dr. Guzman alluded to some of this. I don't know if she's talking more about the actual Latino studies piece of this work or support services. So I'll just allow one of the panelists to address it.
Sure. So the piece that I was talking about would be specific to providing student support. However, I do provide recommendations to the president, and within the recommendations, I did include an element. It's not a center, it's a recommendation for an institute that would support research. And I don't want to share too much because it was submitted as a recommendation, but Annabelle, yes, that is on my radar. I agree with you 100%. And my hope is that we would have an institute to support that.
Thank you. Any other panelists want to answer that question? We were actually, Dr. Rivera and I, out of the Puerto Rico Research Hub, we're thinking about hosting a panel at some point to talk about the status of Latino studies in the US and really highlighting different programs across the US. So I think that that's something we'll be doing in the future. So tune in, keep an eye out for that. Also want to remind everyone that the link that I shared for bios also has all of the events that the Hub is sponsoring or hosting for the month. So please take a look at those. And if you haven't already registered, please do so. I'm going to go ahead and get to the next question from Teresa Rodriguez, a good friend of the Hubs. And her question is, are there any programs currently in place to help students who are recently arrived in the US get better acclimated? Many are dealing with, for the first time in their lives, being a minority. That shock permeates their personal as well as academic lives and how they interact. Would anybody like to take that on? Not all at once.
I can just talk about the services we provide. We're often contacted by faculty that have students, again, that are not international students or domestic students, but they happen to just move to this country from Puerto Rico or somewhere else. And we provide either English classes for them or tutoring. We've had some GTAs before that they're expected to teach, and they've never been in a class with 200 students. So we also provide help for them to feel more comfortable, but we have accent reduction classes too. So we've had faculty that have moved here and needed to work on their accents, so we can do that too. So we're happy to help if that's something that the student needs, and it doesn't matter if we don't charge them. So we're happy to help.
Dr. Muniz, you have been at UCF for a while now, and you've taken the lead on supporting students for a while, for decades probably. Would you mind just stepping in and kind of helping us understand some of of what you have helped with in terms of, I mean, a lot of our students are newly arrived, right? It's many within the last 5 years after Hurricane Maria, and before that, there were waves of, Puerto Rican, Venezuelan, other students coming in as well. So do you mind answering that question?
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. So what I was going to offer and what I will offer is really supporting our registered student organizations, no? Supporting them, making sure that students are connected to the over 600 student organizations that we have on our campus. Anywhere from 25 to 30 of those organizations represent Hispanic Latino groups, no? Latino-based organizations. So those I have seen, and to your point, so the impact of that community, that support system, that space where, using our students from Puerto Rico as an example, after Hurricane Maria, the Puerto Rican Student Association has been very active in welcoming students who have come from the island and are navigating, right, a different way, a different culture, a different space. So, and the same can be said for other organizations. We Are Here, I believe, is a group as well that supports whether they're DACA students, temporary protected status students, or international students. And so that is another space where students can find others that are, that have a similar experience and can help each other in that way. And then, of course, we as faculty and staff, whether we serve as their advisors or helping them navigate campus, then that's critical. I would definitely say to perhaps look at the Office of Student Involvement, who oversees all of the registered student organizations, and see what events are taking place, and supporting those events for our students, because it's also important that they see us there in their space when they're doing things, activities. So I think that definitely helps when it comes to students who are newly arrived and they're networking, getting to know other students like themselves and professionals like us in a supportive role.
Thank you. Oh, Natalia, I think Natalia wants to add to that. Thank you. Dr.
Thank
Toro,
you.
sorry.
I think, so I don't have a direct answer to that, but I think one of the things that we think about in our office, we help students prepare for grad school. Lots of times we'll see them more when they're juniors and seniors. In this case, I think Dr. Rivera will send students to us to save, let them be part of your programs, and we will always kind of connect them, help create community. But I think one of the things that I'm really proud of is that we're often thinking about the students that we're not serving and how we can serve them better. We are a very small office here at UCF, but we're constantly, and international students is just kind of those groups, DACA students, that can easily, there's great resources with the work that's done, but they can easily maybe feel like that may be the only place for them in offices that deal directly with international students. And I think my call is to everyone in this call who is faculty and staff to think about international students, undocumented students, students that you don't see, and question, why am I not seeing this student? They're a UCF student that I'm supposed to be serving. And I'll give an example, because our McNair Scholars Program, unfortunately, and we hope that changes, it's federally funded. So it's for residents and citizens. And we're constantly thinking about, okay, how do we extend this beyond that? And so a few years ago, we expanded to have a transfer program to address some of those barriers, and then also to make sure that we were advertising to our DACA students and international students that they could get funded to be part of our RAMP program. And we have several students with DACA and international students who are part of our research and mentoring program, which funds them to do research. And now our next question is, what happens if they're undocumented, right? Because then we can't do that. So we're constantly thinking about who are we not serving, and what can we do to better serve them, because they are ours too.
Thank you, Dr. Toro. I just want to remind everyone and thank and just recognize that we have some real trailblazers here. Dr. Toro, I mean, pretty much all the panelists, with the exception of Dr. Guzman, who we're really looking forward to working with since she's just arrived. It's been a month and a half, have been here for 10 years plus, you know, and it's really been you all that the students have come to when they felt, you know, that shock, that culture shock of being on a campus that serves 70,000 students, right? Eso no es fácil, you know, whether you're a minoritized community or not, right? So thank you, hats off to you for doing that work. And I just want to recognize that, you know, for folks that are not with UCF, external partners and friends, you may or may not know that these are the folks that, you know, paved the way for us to be able to do this work, and to have someone like Dr. Guzman and now be more strategic and intentional around how we serve Latino students. So thank you for that work. I just wanted to say that. And with that, I'll hand it over to Dr. Rivera so he can close us out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one of the things, just to clarify, we work all together, right? It's not like we're competing or anything like that. And, you know, to Jimmy's question in terms of, I mean, we need resources, you know, so that community support, all the stuff that we're doing, you know, in a large institution, those require some resources and allocations from different funding types. So that's really important to acknowledge as well. I want to also, our good friend Erica Rodriguez Kite wrote something in the chat as well, but sort of sharing the Nicholson School of Communication and Media that they have a Hispanic media initiative. And they're being amazing, incorporating Spanish in classrooms, teaching in a bilingual format. Students get a chance to do what they love as journalists in both Spanish and English, and they cover news stories that matter to them as Latinx students. And many of our students are from Puerto Rico and other countries, and Spanish is their first language. So that's a great program that is going on, a great initiative that we have. I have participated in many of them as well. And there are others that are doing great work, Josefina Rosario and the Mass Office, here on campus as well. So there's a lot of initiatives that are going on. I think one of the things of the panel is to let people know some of the initiatives, programs, things that we have, celebrate those. But really, you know, what is the next step in making sure that our impact is felt throughout the institution as well? I think that's very important, but I'm very humble and proud to be part of this panel and all the work that all of you are doing, both here in UCF and outside of the community. And like Zoe was saying, we have other events planned, so make sure to check them out. You know, one of the things that sometimes, you know, you could do as a community member, even as a faculty member, is, you know, share those postings that we do, follow us, all those type of things. At the end of the day, that does help us a lot with external funding and other things. So yeah, you know, so make sure that's kind of like a simple step that you could do. It takes 2 seconds of your time, but it matters a lot when we're putting out there proposals and funding opportunities, all those type of stuff. So we want to create that impact at the university. And I think everybody here serving in the panel, and I don't know, so if you want to say something just to wrap it up and end the panel.
Actually, Jimmy had a really good suggestion, which was to turn everybody's camera on so we can see each other's beautiful faces. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Karen, can you help me? And thank you again for participating. We have an ambitious calendar full of events with important topics that not only celebrate our culture, nuestra herencia hispana, but also highlight topics that are really interesting and important for our community, like climate change and how that impacts our community. And we have some speakers, you know, we have leadership from DC, we have authors from across the country, so it's pretty diverse. And we were very intentional too in making sure that, so hopefully we can all see each other now, in making sure that we include community partners. So we have various community-based organizations, and that's our goal. Our goal is to continue to reach outside of our walls here at UCF and build on those partnerships, bring you all in and participate in your events. And I think we can all see each other now. So if actually, I don't know if we can take a picture, but we'll do it on our end. But if everyone could just say hello, muchas gracias. This is being recorded. So once we have it available, we'll share it with everyone. Someone also asked about slides. We'll see if we can get those slides to everyone who participated as well. And once you have the video of this event, hi Teresa. So we have so many wonderful friends that I can see now. Please feel free to share with your network. It's important for people to understand what's being done at UCF y lo que hay por hacer, which, you know, under wonderful leadership we'll be able to accomplish. And thank you again. Congratulations to all. I appreciate you all participating. And I think we are all set.
Yes, so thank you, everyone. So with that, we close the panel. Again, make sure to follow all the events that we have planned and enjoy your rest of the day, and happy Hispanic Heritage Month, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.